Hey guys, JC the Sniper again. And as you may know, I've been off YouTube a little while because I've just been real busy with work and stuff, and I'm back on, so I've been spending some more time on YouTube looking at stuff, and I've seen recently that a lot of people are talking about open carry versus concealed carry, and there are a lot of people that feel strongly one way or the other that you should always conceal carry or you should always open carry for various reasons. So today I thought I'd do a little video on that and just give my opinions on it and discuss some of it, and feel free to comment on it, leave your opinion. So first of all, here's my Glock, and it is empty, but I'll safety check it for you guys just so you can tell. Yep, there you go, empty. Trigger's back. Anyway, carrying a firearm is a commitment. I carry my firearm 95% of the time. Almost every time I leave my house, I have my firearm with me, regardless of whether I'm going to church, going to work, wherever I'm going. I don't carry it when I'm at school, just because it's liable to get me in trouble if somebody notices it. I'm going to college, so according to state law, I can carry my handgun on the college campus. However, according to the policy of the school, if they catch me with it, they'll take my scholarship away and kick me out of school, which would be incredibly inconvenient. So that's pretty much where I don't carry it. And, that's a decision that people will have to make. When you go into a gun-free zone... Oh, hang on a second. Stupid phone's going off. Anyway, sorry about that, guys. When you go into a gun-free zone, everyone's going to have to make their own decision on whether or not they're going to carry a firearm. Because, especially in a state like mine, where it is legal for you to carry that firearm. So you won't face any legal repercussions for carrying your firearm on the campus. You may face academic sanctions, though. And so you have to make that choice, whether you think it's, whether you think you should carry the firearm anyway, or whether you think it's too big of a risk and the penalty would be too high, which I think is the decision I've come to, but I'm still mulling that over and thinking about it a lot. I think if I had a smaller handgun, this is my concealed carry handgun, I think if I had a smaller handgun, like a PF9 or something, which unfortunately I don't have the funds to purchase right now, but if I had one of those, I would probably carry it at school because I think there's a much smaller chance that anyone would notice. So anyway, concealed carry versus open carry. I thought a few of the good things with open carry are, first of all, ease of access. If I've got my Glock 19 holstered in my Serpa retention holster on my hip, I can get it out really quickly. I can draw that thing and be on target really, really fast and pop rounds into it. So ease of access is definitely a pro with open carry. If I'm carrying inside the waistband in this holster I made myself, some of you may have seen previously. If I'm carrying in this thing, it's not a whole lot more inconvenient, but I can't get quite a full combat grip on the weapon. The weapon's pressed up against my skin, so it's a little bit harder to get in behind to grip. And it's belted in, so there's a little bit more tension getting it out. It's just a little bit more inconvenient to get this thing out of and inside the waistband holster than my Serpa holster. And it's even more so inconvenient if you use something like a belly band. So it could be inconvenient to draw that way. Another pro for open carry is it's a visible deterrent. If a guy walks in and he's going to knock off a convenience store and he sees you standing there in the cash register line and goes, "Oh wow, that guy's carrying a handgun." First thing he thinks is probably that guy is most likely an off-duty police officer if he sees something like this on your hip. Just walking in there knowing nothing else about the situation, if you look like an upstanding citizen and you're carrying a firearm, he would probably leave, because as we know, most criminals don't want a violent confrontation. They want something easy and fast. That's why they're criminals and they're not working. So maybe a possible deterrent. Another pro is that you're exercising your right to carry a handgun in a visible manner, and your right to firearms in a visible manner. And as people say, use it or lose it. You know, the less people start exercising these rights, the more people will think, you know, well, nobody does that anyway. We don't really need that right. You know, why do you need a right to carry a handgun? Nobody carries a handgun. And there are tons of people that carry concealed handguns, but not so many that carry openly, and people don't necessarily realize that people are carrying them. So exercise of right is one good thing about it. Also, normalization of the firearm. The more people see people carrying firearms around, the more normal it becomes. And the more normal it becomes, the more society is accepting of it, and the more willing they are to support firearms owners, even if they're not going to own a firearm themselves. And last is convenience. It is just a whole heck of a lot more convenient to carry, you know, say your Glock 19 and your extra magazine in holsters on the outside of your belt than it is to carry your Glock 19 inside the waistband in a holster and your extra magazine inside the waistband, because then you've just added that much thickness to your you know, your waistband, and you've got a 1.5 pound chunk of metal on one side and, you know, whatever that is on the other side, and it's just heavy and it's, you know, pressed up against you and not very comfortable all the time, and, you know, can rub you funny sometimes, and it's just inconvenient. You know, you get used to it, and I've gotten used to it. I don't hardly even notice I'm wearing this thing anymore. I wear it all the time and barely notice it. But it's just something you're going to have to get used to, and it is inconvenient. So cons of open carry are, first of all, it can be inflammatory when you're carrying a handgun out in the open. Wrangler Barn was talking on his open carry experience video that he chose not to go into a public library because he felt like it would be somewhat inflammatory. And, you know, that could be true. If you walk into a place like a library and there's a bunch of mothers with their children and they see you carrying a firearm on your hip, they may not be happy about that. And regardless of whether it's your right or you're an upstanding citizen or not, they don't care. They're just upset that you would dare to bring a firearm around their little children. And that can hurt the cause. So although I am all for the open carry of firearms, and I think everyone should be okay with it, I know some people are not, and there are places that I wouldn't carry my firearm for that reason, openly. Also, it can make you a target. If a guy does decide to rob a convenience store, and you happen to be standing there with a firearm, and he is desperate enough that he says, yeah, that guy has a gun, I've got to do this anyway, and he's going to rob the store anyway, who do you think he's going to aim at? His crosshairs are going to be on you first, because you have that gun on your hip, and he knows that person right there can make an armed response. They might be able to stop me. So he's pulling his own firearm out, and he's popping rounds in your direction. And that's a negative thing. You never want to select yourself as a target. And that could definitely do it. Also, there may or may not be, hopefully your state, wherever you choose to open carry, the police officers will know the law, but frequently that's not the case. It is sometimes sad how little police officers know the law. There are, tons of stories of people who, have been stopped for carrying a firearm or something, and the officers didn't know they have a right to. So, you may be questioned by law enforcement, you may be stopped because you look suspicious, you may face some, mild or maybe not so mild harassment for carrying a firearm openly in that manner. And if it were concealed, they'd never know you had it, and it would be a non-issue. So those are a couple of the issues. I'm coming up on the end of this video here, so I'll stop it and we'll go to part 2.